Hi, it's me again, Sebastian from Grillrost.com. Great to have you back with us. I was thinking, since it's still a bit cold outside, and the weather isn't quite that nice yet, let's bring a bit of summer and the feeling of warm temperatures right here. We're making flank steak pinwheels, stuffed with Parma ham, Parmesan, and a chimichurri. To go with that, we'll have Pimientos de Padrón and grilled bread. I'm gonna start off first. Before I slice the flank steak, I'll prep something for the chimichurri, and that's this line here. I want to grill it a bit, so we get some of that grilled flavor in there. I'm just cutting it into 2 equal halves and then putting them over here on the hot grill. Today we're using a classic outdoor kettle grill with a flat griddle plate. I'm putting the fresh limes on here right now so they get a nice bit of charred color. It's hottest here in the middle, cold are right underneath. So we'll just place them here on the edge, and in the meantime, we'll prep the chimichurri. There are many variations of it. I think in Argentina, every family probably has their own recipe. I have one here too that I like to make. I've got about 2 bunches of parsley here. I'll chop it up, and I'm leaving all the stems in too. It makes it a bit crunchier and just gives it more texture. It'll all be finely chopped. I find that if you chop it by hand, it stays a bit chunkier, and you can still see the herbs. In a blender, it gets very fine, almost like a pesto. Now it all goes into the jar here. And for the next up, I've already measured this out just a little bit beforehand, and it looks like it's about a good full teaspoon. Marjoram, and also a teaspoon chili flakes. They go in too. Now, since the chili flakes and marjoram are completely dried, we really need some liquid to soften them up. So first of all, I'm adding about a tablespoon of red wine vinegar to the mix. I do that before adding the olive oil, so the herbs can already absorb some liquid. Maybe a little bit more. Let's give it a stir. Then we'll move on. Can't forget the garlic either. And then add in a very finely diced shallot. You could also use some fresh green onions if you would happen to prefer that instead. Whatever you like. I really like the taste of shallots. Look, this has already got some nice color. I'm squeezing 1/2 of it in here now. You can smell it right away. It smells completely different once they're roasted. A little bit of salt. Here I have some sea salt flakes. You can also use something a bit finer. Now we can add some olive oil. I'm just doing this by feel now, but I'd say roughly 4 tablespoons. You can do this a bit, however you like. So if you want it more liquid, you can add more olive oil. But I like it a bit firmer here. I also want to spread it on the flank. We're gonna stuff it. And for that, this consistency is pretty good. And at the end, when we add it as a sauce, we can see if we want to add a bit more olive oil. Then we'll move on to the flank. I'll unpack it. It's still vacuum sealed. Here we have the flank steak. You can see it's relatively coarse fibers that run diagonally through the meat here, but we're not doing it that way today. I'm cutting it open now so we can unfold it. Then we'll stuff it and make pinwheels out of it. You have to be a bit careful here. Since it's already relatively thin, we want to avoid cutting any holes if possible. Sometimes it can't be avoided. Sometimes it happens. It's not a big deal, but we'll try to manage without it now. Yeah, that's looking good. It's really important to have a sharp knife. A butcher's knife is best. And importantly, remember not to cut all the way through at the end. Otherwise, you'll end up with 2 halves. Now we've made a little hole here. Let's start the cut again. And then you can unfold it like this. When it's lying here like this, you can see in the middle where you can still cut. Good, that's the sliced flank. And now we'll start with the stuffing. For that, I'll take the chimichurri. And then carefully spread a good amount of it right on here. It shouldn't be too much, otherwise we'd just squeeze it all out later when we roll it. I still have the other half of the grilled lime here. Everything smells like it here, that sweet lime scent. I'll add a bit of that over it too. Then pepper. And a little bit of salt as well. It's already in the chimichurri, but the meat can definitely handle it. Then we'll continue with the filling. And here we have the ham. And then we'll lay it out nicely here. Finally, we'll add a bit of cheese. You can use any cheese you like. I think it's quite good to use a hard cheese. So this right here is some Parmesan. When this goes on the grill later and begins to slowly soften up, it is not going to get so incredibly soft that it all just runs out, but instead it remains tucked away inside this roll a bit better. I'm not placing it all the way to the edge here, so that at the end there's still about half a turn or so left, which I can use to seal it up properly. Otherwise, it would just run out or crumble out anyway, and we can avoid that. It's important that it's rolled up nice and tight. First, let's find the start. There. Then always keep it under a bit of tension, and then roll it up well. This is the spot where I cut that hole earlier. That's going to be covered up nicely here. Okay. And now I'm skewering it all shut. I'm carefully skewering it all along here, right where the meat overlaps. And now I'm cutting the pinwheels, and I'm always cutting right here. Between the skewers, I'm cutting one off like this. You can see the filling nicely here, the cheese. I've got charcoal baskets under the plate here. They're filled up quite well with high-quality coconut briquettes, so that a very decent amount of consistent heat is generated. The grill's air vent at the bottom is completely open right now, so I can get the absolute maximum heat possible there. Press them down a bit, so there's really good contact with the plate. I'll let them sit for a moment until they start to release on their own and have a nice crust. Then we'll flip them over briefly and move them to the very edge so they can finish cooking. Australian Black Angus. So I think from one side, yeah, they're slowly starting to release now. Now I'm flipping them. Got a super nice crust. The cheese that melted has also become a bit firm down here with the crust, so it doesn't run out anymore. Once they're nicely seared on both sides, I'll just pull them out a bit to the outer area where there isn't as much heat. Then they can finish cooking through nicely. The charcoal baskets are right here, so the charcoal baskets are right under where the flanks are lying now. I'm pulling them into the middle now, where there's no direct heat underneath. And then they can reach the right temperature here. Next, the pimentos are placed onto the hot fire plate. We're not doing much there. They're just going here on the plate, so they get a bit of color too. Then I'll add a splash of good olive oil. I'm going to cut 1 or 2 cloves of garlic now for the pimentos. They're already getting some really nice color here. That can keep going like that. I'm just cutting slices of white bread here. Not too thick. It should get nice and crispy. A little olive oil goes on top. I'm adding the garlic to the pimentos now. And a little bit of salt. I'm taking the flank steak off now. We're at a perfect medium rare for the flank steak's level of doneness. I like all the secondary cuts, so flank is one of them. I prefer them when they're a bit more well done. I personally find the mouthfeel much more pleasant, and it's quite a bit easier to bite, because sometimes all those secondary cuts tend to be just a little bit, well, tough is probably the wrong word, but they are just a bit firmer. And if you had one now that is medium rare, let's put it that way, 53, 54 degrees, maybe in the center, it's sometimes harder to eat than when it's at 56, 57 degrees. You've got to try it. You can do it however you like. You can also easily control it with the thickness of the meat. So you can make some thinner ones, some thicker ones. Damn, there's something for everyone. Personally, I like it when they're a bit more well done, but that's just a matter of taste. Let's check on the bread over here. We'll take the pimentos off now too. Take the garlic. Actually, I think we can finally start plating everything now. Now I'll take the rest of the garlic and carefully slice it all straight through the middle like this. We'll need that for the bread a little bit later on. I'll pull the skewer out now. That's what it looks like. So it's still slightly pink, but already quite well done. But still juicy. For the bread, I'm just gonna rub the garlic clove all over it like this. Then we'd have the chimichurri. I'll add a bit of olive oil to that now to make it a bit more liquid. A nice bit of acidity from the fresh roasted lime. That would be the flank steak pinwheels with the pimentos and the toasted bread. Let's see. The chimichurri is great with the acidity. Then comes the cheese, the ham. The flank has a lot of flavor too. Very good. You immediately feel like you're somewhere in a vibrant South American nation. The sun is shining brightly all around you. If you liked all of that, feel free to leave us a subscription. You can also leave a comment about what you'd like to see next, if there's anything that particularly interests you. Exactly, and then we'll see if we can incorporate that somehow. Until next time, bye. I'm gonna keep eating a little more now. And these are great too. Perfect.